As president, I'll work to pass the fair tax, which would no longer penalize people's work. We would finally rid ourselves of the biggest bully in America, the IRS.
Rick almost nodding violently in agreement.
We'll get to it.
Okay. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is taking on tax reform, as you can see, in his bid to become president. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. The so-called fair tax would eliminate the payroll tax and replace it with the national sales tax. Follow that? On the state level, several Republican governors are also looking at tax reform, including in the great state of Ohio, where Governor John Kasich, some refer to him as the 45th president, wants to slash income taxes by 23% over 2 years. Great idea. He would also eliminate taxes on businesses earning less than $2 million a year. Strike two. To offset the loss in revenue, Kasich would raise the sales tax by 0.5%. He would also raise the cigarette tax to $2.25 a pack. Kasich argues lower taxes will lead to job creation, which, by the way, unemployment in Ohio has fallen 45% since the governor took office a couple of years ago. But critics say the plan shifts the burden to lower income taxpayers. They argue that raising the sales tax will hurt lower income families more because they spend more of their money on basic goods and services. But one conservative research group tells Pew's Stateline that some of the concerns are overblown. They point out that many states exempt food and clothing from sales tax so the poor would not be unduly burdened. This tax debate on the state and national level is playing out as concern grows about how to address income inequality. So, what do you guys think? Will this be a burden on lower income families?
It can be. The reason I was shaking my head, see, I'm finding something to agree with all of my adversaries tonight.
Great.
It's
Look
fair
at
and
you.
balanced. Oh, I shouldn't say that here. Look, I am totally up for trying other means of taxation. And yes, fair taxation and excise taxation and all of these different means.
Flat taxation?
Flat taxation.
Who came up with that?
My employer.
Yes.
Mr.
One of
Steve
them.
Forbes, one of them. They're all worth trying on two conditions. And Steve, by the way, does agree with the first condition with respect to the flat tax. You need to make allowances at the bottom of the income scale so that it doesn't unduly burden, and you seek to deal with the naturally regressive nature of those taxes. The other is you have to, well, I forgot what I was going to say about it. So we'll never know what I feel like Rick Perry tonight.
You know what's funny?
I had
I
a
thought of that
second
exact
thing.
moment. And the third is, I forgot.
No, he said whoops.
Never do
At
lists.
least you didn't
I
say
didn't
never.
say whoops, and I'm not drinking cough syrup. But here's, I know what the other one was. See, if we stretch long
Right.
enough, it'll pop into my head. The other is, my biggest problem with these alternate taxes, the good news is it does away with 75,000 pages of the Internal Revenue Code. How do you assure me that we won't just start all over again with special interest, creating a new 75,000 pages to deal with those taxes to unfairly advantage some people? If you can deal with those two things, I'm all for it. And where better to try it than on the state level? Let's give it a try.
Laboratories for democracy,
Yeah.
the states, right?
Right, and I do think that the states that are doing it are trying to do it to protect the lower income people. They're trying to make sure that
Some of them are,
food
yeah.
and clothes are covered. A lot of them are dealing with taxes on gas. They're talking about taxing things like cigarettes and vaping.
Right.
That's one of the big things for Governor
Which I have a
Kasich.
major problem with. Would you talk to your boy Kasich and tell him to leave the whole vaping
he
thing
does
out
not-
of
I
it?
recommended it, actually.
That's right. He's big on taxing the
unreasonable.
It's
vaping.
Mr. Kasich. I don't call him my boy. Go
But
ahead.
he, his big point was it will bring business to the state. And I like when he said the biggest cure to poverty is to get a job. And so we want to bring more jobs to the state. And I think that is what we have to work on. That is what we have to work on for poverty across the board. Jeb Bush did an op-ed today in, I think it was the Chicago paper, about how to deal with poverty. And between that and education, these are the things we have to work on.
This is
Kasich
another
theory?
variation on the whole flawed concept of trickle down. And the best explanation that I ever heard that trickle down doesn't work was actually from a multi-millionaire who makes pillows. And he said, look, if you give me $1 million, I still only need 2, 3, or 4 pillows. But if you give 100,000 people the same $1 million, they're going to need 100,000 or 200,000 pillows. That's why trickle down doesn't work. It's going to result in the more concentration of wealth into the hands of the few. This election is going to be about income inequality and about the 1%. But knocking out the income tax is not the way to benefit the poor.
Do you find it surprising that the 1% actually has gotten richer underneath a Democratic president the way it has, that it has expanded the way it has under a Democratic administration?
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference to a large degree between Democrats and Republicans when the massive bureaucracies that roll on. I believe what we live in today is corporate socialism, where the agencies, I don't care if it's the Interior Department or the USDA or the FDA, are controlled by the industries that they are supposed to monitor. The industries have infiltrated government, and it's really corporate socialism. It doesn't matter who's elected.
I have to disagree with Jane on the trickle down thing. I totally hate trickle down economics, but I don't agree that taxation that seeks to spread more fairly is the same as trickle down.
And he gets the last word. So there. Coming up next. Just how legal are police body cameras? We'll discuss that after the break. Stay right there.